My sister invited a few people. Sean, nice to see you. Okay, guys, I'm going to get started with today's live. As I was saying to people who were here a few minutes ago, is that basically what I do, my name's DJ Ray, and I've been a DJ for a long time, let's just say. And basically, every Tuesday night, I do a live show hosted by myself, and I feature a different topic about music, of course, every week. And I usually try to pinpoint at this point, I'm going to be listening to all of your replies. Hi, Rule Breaker. I'm going to be listening to what you guys say as the weeks go along, and if you guys have any ideas for topics, anything like that, I'm all ears. But for right now, I'm putting them together myself. Victoria, nice to see you. Thanks, Vito. Well, I guess my sister should be thanking you more. Hey, Jason, nice to see you, buddy. Feel free to participate. So I basically, every week, Tuesday night at 8 p.m. till about 8:30, 8:45, I pretty much kind of like a half countdown and half greatest of all time. I count down the top 20 in a pursuit to get to the number one of whatever the topic is. Tonight, the topic is the greatest music duos of all time. Okay, so, it can't be like the Police. You can't just say, there's two of them in there, or it's not going to be like John Lennon and Paul McCartney because they weren't really a duo. Or Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons, they weren't really a duo. So when I say duos, I mean duos. I do a scoring point system. I do a little extra points for, hey, Cameron, how are you? Simon and Garfunkel wins, eh? Okay, well, we'll see. We'll see. Good choice, by the way. So anyway, I'm going to be counting down 20 of them, but the number one will be the greatest duo of all time, at least in my humble opinion. Okay, so before I get started, I just want to give you the way I score. So I give 3 points for vocals. So if the duo is exceptionally great at vocals, I mean, they're all going to be pretty good, but 3 is the highest point, 0 being the lowest. Their style and their image gets 2 points. That's up to 5 now. Their popularity is worth 3 points. And their longevity, how long they were in the game, is worth 2 points. So that's basically my scoring system. So let's get started with number 20. Okay, a few of these, as always, might be a little surprising to you guys, but I'll try and explain who I picked and where I picked them. So at number 20, and one other thing I want to mention, I noticed this. I didn't do this by design, but I noticed that after doing this top 20, there was several country artists. So I hope you're okay with country, but mostly it's contemporary stuff. So number 20 is a country artist, the duo of Big and Rich. This duo consists of Big Kenny and John Rich. You might remember John Rich. He was on Donald Trump's The Apprentice. I think he won it many years ago. In 2004, this duo won the Billboard Music Award for Best New Country Duo. They had a number one hit on the U.S. country charts with Lost in This Moment. It was number one, a little kind of a slower one, but definitely their most popular song, I'm just saying this as a DJ, was, you guys remember, Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy? That's Big and Rich. So, yeah, I've got number 20, Big and Rich, on my top 20 leading up to the number one of all time. Okay? And again, feel free to country does have some amazing talent. One thing, we all live in a country. Way to go, Cameron. The one thing I say about country, being a DJ for as many years as I've been, rock kind of took a back seat the last 20 years. And when I was growing up, rock was king. I find new country, is one of the very few, if not the only genre that keeps the electric guitar going. Some of the modern artists are just wailing on it. So if you like rock, give new country a try. But this isn't a country episode. Let's carry on to our top music duo of all time. At number 19, little bit of a spin-off of the Beach Boys, but became around pretty much the same time, and that duo's name is Jan and Dean. It consists of Jan Berry and Dean Torrance. They had several hits in the 60s, including songs like Jenny Lee, Baby Talk, Dead Man's Curve, The Little Old Lady from Pasadena, And their number one hit single in the US, Surf City. So needless to say, this band was a little overlooked because when they came out, the Beach Boys were almost, if it wasn't for the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, the Beach Boys might have owned the 60s, even over Elvis. But they were overshadowed by the Beach Boys, Jan and Dean, and pretty much sounded just like them. Maybe they needed several members like the Boys. They only had a duo. So either way, good enough to make number 19 on my countdown. Thanks for the love, too. I appreciate it. Mary, how you doing? David, nice to see you. I'm glad you can make it. Or you're kind of there. Okay. We're counting down the greatest music duo of all time. My 18th favorite, it's kind of like a Peaches and Herb. They're known as Ashford and Simpson. They're a husband and wife, consisting of Nick Ashford and Valerie Simpson. And their biggest hits include a song called Found a Cure in 1979 and their 1984 single, Solid. Solid as a rock. You don't remember that one, maybe? In 2002, they were both inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and they come in at number 18 on my list of the top 20 music duos of all time, leading up to number 1. I think it was Vito or somebody said that Simon Garfunkel all the way. Yeah, you're good, Mary. That's good to hear. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. And hi, Natasha. Yeah, so feel free to chime in if you have a favorite. If you have a favorite duo, if you think who actually it's not really your favorites. Who do you think is the greatest music duo of all time? So far, we've said Big and Rich, country duo, Jan and Dean, beach rock in the 60s duo, and Ashford and Simpson, an R&B pop duo that were mostly 70s or 80s time zone. Okay, I warned you guys there was a few country artists on these duos. Number 17, how could we forget George Jones and Tammy Wynette? Okay, first of all, as individuals, they were two icons in country music back in those days. They were a husband and wife duo. I don't know if you guys know that they were married, but they racked up together 3 number 1 country hits in the U.S. during the 1970s. The problem is this couple had a tumultuous relationship, and in spite of both remarrying to other people, they managed to reignite their business relationship in the late 1990s, just before Tammy Wynette unfortunately passed away. Years later, about 15 years later, George Jones left us as well. But I know they're a little bit old school here. We're going back, but number 17, my nod goes to George Jones and Tammy Wynette. Which takes me to number 16. This one's going to surprise all of you. I'm sure of it. I don't even know if you guys know this one. Well, anyone who knows music and likes country will know them. And for me to have them at number 16 is pretty incredible. And I'll be honest, maybe I'm using a little bit of my personal feelings. They are Thompson Square, okay? Another husband and wife duo. Their biggest hits include a song called If I Didn't Have You, and their number 1 country single, Are You Gonna Kiss Me or Not? That was in 2010. That song went platinum as well. Double platinum, sorry. It went double platinum. So this band didn't win a ton of awards or anything, but for the time that they were out, their harmonies were off the charts. And I really recommend, if you don't know them, they're called Thompson Square. I'm putting them at number 16 on my all-time list of greatest music duos. So it's worth a listen. And even if you don't like country that much, they're a little bit of a crossover duo. So check them out. Thompson Square at number 16. See the board here. Please. Okay. Which one was a good choice, Mary? Were you talking about? Sorry, I'm a little slow. If you type it in, I'll, yeah. And remember, guys, don't be afraid if you think you know who the number 1, oh yeah, Thompson Square, you know them. Good. Yeah. Girl after my own heart. Just amazing. I if it was just personal, I might throw them in the top 5, right? But I had to keep to the scoring system a bit, and they legitimately belong there. Taking me to number 15. Talk about legit. Another husband and wife duo. What is this? Anyway, Johnny and June Carter Cash, okay, come in at number 15. Well, we all know how great Johnny Cash was, but I wonder if you know that June Carter had deep roots in the music industries, almost like royalty almost, as part of the Carter family trio. So she actually had more experience than Johnny Cash, but Johnny Cash, what can you say about him, right? So Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash, they were 5-time Grammy Award winners. When I saw that, I just found that incredible because I could see it with Johnny, but but maybe it was on Johnny's back that got her those 5. I don't know. They were a great duo, regardless. Again, they had a few tumultuous moments, but if you ever saw the movie with Joaquin Phoenix, I Walk the Line, it's actually he performs Johnny pretty accurately. So if you've never seen that movie, that's another good one to watch if you're interested. Number 15, Johnny and June Carter Cash. Carpenters were a good duo. They were. So far I've had a couple guesses. Somebody mentioned Simon and Garfunkel, and Mary, you're mentioning the Carpenters. Let's see. Let's go on to number 14, though. This one's not a total country band. It's a country pop band. And these are, what's going on with the family stuff? Actual brothers. They're the Bellamy brothers, okay? You hear all these other Blues Brothers and stuff like that, but the Bellamy brothers are actual brothers from Florida, and they helped popularize country music in the 1970s and 1980s. Check this out. They had 10 number one country hits in the 70s and 80s. In the U.S., they had 10 number one country hits. That's crazy for such a short time, including their debut track, Let Your Love Flow. Remember that one? Let Your Love Flow, which topped the Billboard charts in 1976. Amazing harmonies. If you guys aren't really familiar with the Bellamy brothers, I'd recommend checking them out. Coming in at number 14. Number 13, your first reaction might be, why don't you have these guys higher? And I'll explain why I don't. Number 13 is Ike and Tina Turner. Tina Turner was way more successful as an individual than now. In my early years, all you heard is Ike and Tina Turner, but it was because of Tina Turner. Now, Ike, obviously it was his band, and he did, provide some vocals and musicianship and stuff, and he was a great artist, but it was also a very abusive relationship, if you know anything about them, and Ike's a bit of a ditty. Anyway, they were a husband and wife duo, but it was very physically abusive relationship. They had a string of hit singles, though, including Proud Mary in 1971. That one's for you, Mayor. And Nutbush City Limits in 1973, just to name a couple. And in 1991, this duo was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's Ike and Tina Turner at number 13. Okay. Taking us to number 12. Another country duo. Going back to the 80s on this one. I feel like it's a bit of a family affair today. I got my sister here. There's so many siblings on this duos list today. And the Judds. Mother and daughter duo here. So you have, Naomi and Winona. Naomi's the mother. Winona's the daughter. That's right. And pretty much they owned the country charts in the 1980s. Owned the country charts. Now, if I can just say one thing without getting too off track here, the 1980s were pretty weak for country, though. The 70s were solid. Even the 50s and 60s weren't bad, right? And then the 90s, we went through that country thing, and now country's probably better than ever. So the 80s were a little bit weak. Regardless, when you have an incredible 14 number one country singles in the 80s, that's pretty impressive. They also won, this duo, the Judds, won 5 Grammy Awards and 9 Country Music Awards. So I think it's fair to say, now Winona went on to have a pretty successful solo career herself, but I would say it's pretty safe to say that the Judds are my number 12 insertion for the greatest music duo of all time. Okay. Okay, this is getting silly now. It really is. My number 11. I really didn't plan this, but it's also a sibling, sister and brother duo. This one's for me and you, Ange. Brother, sister. Woo! Okay, I didn't plan it, but it's the Carpenters. Who said that? Was that you, Mary? Number 11 is Karen and Richard Carpenter. When you think of the Carpenters, you think of the 1970s, you think of ballads, and you think of greatness. They had 3 number 1 singles in the US with Close to You, 1970, Top of the World, 1973, and Please Mr. Postman, 1974. Not to mention a bunch of number 2s and number 3s. It was just pretty incredible. And they don't get the credit they deserve. And I think what it is this is a strange duo because Richard mostly played piano. He mostly played piano and stuff. I mean, Karen Carpenter was the show. But regardless, they were so great, they got to come in at number 11, which takes me to my top 10. I hope you guys are getting excited. Woo! That's right, Ange. Sibling power. Thanks for following me, Quattro. I appreciate that. Thanks, Ange, for recommending me. See, my sister's my secret weapon out there. Anyway, number 10. Okay, speaking of ballads, you guys remember the duo of Air Supply? They've kind of become a casino duo at this point, but I can't stress enough. I mean, they got a lot of airplay in the US, but didn't chart as much. But from out of Australia, they were gods. The duos consists of Graham Russell and Russell Hitchcock. Russell Hitchcock did most of the singing, but they were both singers, and they had a string of hit ballads in the 1980s, including their number 1 U.S. chart topper, The One That You Love, that came out in 1981. Having sold more than 100 million records, they are considered basically one of the greatest selling bands of all time. Anyone that sells 100 million records is pretty impressive. So, yeah, Air Supply cracks my top 10 at number 10. And I'm trying to find out who is the greatest music duo of all time. Who could it be? Do you guys have any guesses? Like, we've got the Carpenters. That was a good one, but not number 1. Number 11. Again, I'm just giving you my opinion of years of experience, but everybody, when it comes to music, we all know it's all about interpretation. So keep that in mind. Number 9, the Righteous Brothers. In this case, Bobby Hatfield and Bill Medley are not actual brothers. Okay, you might remember Bill Medley with "I Had the Time of My Life" from the Dirty Dancing. He was originally one of the Righteous Brothers. I think they still tour, but with another guy because Bobby Hatfield passed away. But they're not actual brothers, so we broke that streak. They basically had 2 big number 1 hits in the U.S. You Lost That Lovin' Feeling, 1964, and You're My Soul and My Inspiration in 1966. Their 1965 song, Unchained Melody, was revived in the 1987 movie Dirty Dancing. You guys might remember that. You know, Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. That was the big song, Unchained Melody. And they also, in 2003, were officially inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Righteous Brothers, number 9. Okay, we're at number 8, and we're inching our way to the top 3 and the number 1 greatest music duo of all time. Number 8, sorry guys, another country one for the ones that don't like it. You either love country or you hate it, right? I happen to be one of the ones that love it, but I was brought up with it, and new country just got me hooked. I've been hooked since about 2005, maybe 2000. I consider new country 2000 and up because there's been so many great songs, and that'll be another show. I'm sorry I'm talking so much about country. It's just there's so many country duos here. And number 8, no exception, Brooks and Dunn. This duo consists of Kix Brooks and Ronnie Dunn. And check this out. They have an incredible 21 number one country singles in the US. 21, you know. That in itself puts them on this list. They're known for their iconic song. You remember Boot Scoot Boogie? Kind of that slosh thing where everybody lines up and does that dance thing. Basically, that song became a part of pop culture, especially at parties and events. It's iconic. Rob, hey buddy, good to see you. My buddy Rob's here. This guy, talk about a guitar player. Yeah, so you're saying Brooks and Dunn, Rob? That's your favorite duo, or were you Milli Vanilli? Yeah, if they sang their songs, that would be. How's it going, buddy? Nice to see you, Rob. So yeah, I put Brooks and Dunn at number 8 for the greatest music duo of all time. And now that's going to take me to number 7. Again, I don't know how many of you are familiar with this duo, but pipes, man, they could sing. Sam and Dave were an R&B soul duo that were made up of tenor Sam Moore and baritone Dave Prater. Their most popular songs include a 1966 song, Hold On, I'm Coming, Soul Man, 1967, see where my mind goes, and I Thank You, 1968. They are both Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees, and in 2019, they received the prestigious Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. Sam and Dave did a lot for Motown and Soul, and they come in at number 7, but still not my number 1 of all time. Okay, this number 6 one, it's not really one of my favorites, but I did the scoring system, and remember what the scoring is. Vocals, 3 points, style and image, 2 points, popularity, 3 points, longevity, 2 points. And when I added up all the score, they came in at number 6. And this one's going out to my sister as well. Donnie and Marie Osmond come in at number 6, okay? Just like the Carpenters, brother and sister. The only difference between the Carpenters and Donnie and Marie, believe it or not, the Carpenters are a better band, let's face it. But as a duo, if you were just say who had bigger hits, Carpenters would destroy Donnie and Marie. But the thing is, as a duo, because of Richard Carpenter and Karen Carpenter taking on all the vocals pretty much, it kind of lessens it a little bit. You know, I have a couple in here where, you know, like the Captain and Tennille thing, which didn't make my list. They were like just out of it. Where, you know, the piano player's just not adding much vocals, so it kind of takes away a little bit on the vocals, and it's particularly the harmony. So Donnie and Marie Osmond were both great singers. So that's why they get such a high nod at number 6. And during the 1970s, they had 6 number 1 hits in the US. People don't realize that. So 6 number 1 hits, not on, you know, country, on Billboard. So they're legit. They were so popular in the 1970s, in fact, that they had their own weekly variety show between 1976 and 1979. Pretty good accomplishments. So I give the nod to Donnie and Marie Osmond at number 6. Okay, thanks for the little thingy there. I liked it. So always the exciting part when we get into the top 5. Speaking of Donnie and Marie, another sibling, I promise you, no, I can't promise you that. There's one more after this. I promise you this is a second last family duo, okay? And they're better known as Sonny and Cher, okay? They were a one-time husband and wife duo made up of Sonny and Cher Bono. They had several top 40 hits in the US, including their number 1 chart topper, I Got You Babe, from 1965. In 1998, they were both inducted into the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Of course, Cher went on to have an incredible career without Sonny. That's what most women would say when they leave their man anyway, but she just, she was on my list last week of the top divas, or the week before, sorry, 2 weeks ago. Right up there in the top 10 somewhere. I can't remember exactly where, but she's a diva. And of course, Sonny Bono died a few years back. He did have a pretty successful career too, but not in music. I think he became the mayor of somewhere in California. Don't correct me. Don't quote me on that, sorry. And he passed away in a supposed ski accident. But anyway, Sonny and Cher come in at number 5. Okay, let me just take a quick drink here. take a quick look at the... Thanks for liking the live, Debbie. Appreciate it. Became the number 6 member. Us checking things out. Seeing what everybody's doing and saying. Yeah. Good to see you guys talking with each other too. I like that. Gives me kind of a warm feeling inside. Okay. Let's continue. With number 4. Remember, guys, we're counting down the top music duos of all time, and I've got my number 1 sitting and looking at me right now, and I'm just about to announce it. But before that, let's get to number 4. These guys, just amazing. Well, we're at this point, the next 4 are just off the charts good. Tears for Fears. Do you remember that little new wave duo with Roland Orzabal? You probably don't even know their names. And Kurt Smith. You know, this is the thing with Tears for Fears is they were so great in the 80s, and nobody even knows their names really. Again, Roland Orzabal, the guy with the longer hair, and Kurt Smith, usually with the shorter hair. They had several big hits in the 1980s and early 1990s, but they were most successful with 2 of them, Shout and Everybody Wants to Rule the World. They were awesome. Yeah, David, Hall & Oates was good too. I'll remember that to see if they're in my top 3. We're talking about number 4 right now, which is Tears for Fears. Both of those songs, Shout and Everybody Wants to Rule the World, they both topped the U.S. charts in 1984 and 1985, respectively. Such great memories come from Tears for Fears because they were big when I was just starting to go to nightclubs and stuff and hearing them and that. So I got a soft spot for them. Tears for Fears, I think it's legit though. You guys think that's legit, Tears for Fears? Great. You saw their last year X show, Rob? You talking about Hall & Oates, or are you talking about Tears for Fears? You like Pale Shelter, Mary? Yeah, that was one of their a little bit later ones, eh? Yeah, Tears for Fears. Rob, that's right. You saw their show. Let me see what you said here. Oops. You guys are talking too fast. That's cool, Rob. I can't stress how happy I love when my musician friends come visit me, you know, because they can really add it. You missed last week, Rob. I had the greatest. Sorry, guys, I'm going off a sec here, but my buddy's here, and I just want to ask. I had the top 3 guitar players, and I want to know, in your opinion, because I think you are an excellent player. My number 1 pick was Keith Richards. And I surprised myself with that pick because I didn't think I would pick Keith Richards because my favorite is, believe it or not, is Slash from Guns N' Roses. But I do a scoring system. Like today, I've got a scoring system: vocals, style and image, popularity, and longevity for the duos. And yeah, I had Keith Richards number 1. Are your thoughts? Oh, it's running nights. You go running, yeah. Anyway, I don't want to make this the Rob show. I just so happy to see him here. Okay. No. Hammer. Okay. Number 3. Who said this one? Simon and Garfunkel. Okay. They were an American folk rock duo made up of Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel. Their most famous recordings include 3 number 1 singles in the U.S. Sound of Silence, Bridge Over Troubled Water, and Mrs. Robinson. But they had a lot more. They won several Grammy Awards, and in 1990, they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, these guys had amazing harmonies but it's so funny, and they were pretty much equally big. It's not like Wham, where George Michael was the man and Andrew Ridgeley pretended to play guitar or something in the corner. It wasn't like that. Otherwise, Wham would be on this chart. You know, they both carried their own in the 60s. The problem is, to me, Art Garfunkel fell from existence, and Paul Simon went on to have maybe a bigger career than he did with Garfunkel. But this is about duos, and these two just connected. They had the chemistry, and Simon and Garfunkel are definitely number 3. I'm sure some of you probably think they're number 1, but wait till you get to my top 2. Okay, you ready for this? Top 2? I don't hear any drum rolls. Do you know my sister Ange, Rob? I see you said the Ange. That's my sister. Ange is a buddy of mine, Rob, the guitar player, I call him. Number 2, the Everly Brothers. Okay, did you guys forget about the Everly Brothers? Did you forget they have like the best harmonies of all time? Are they just too old to remember? I don't know. But I promise this is the absolute last of the family duos. Obviously, they're real brothers, Phil and Don. And they also had a string of hits throughout the late 50s and 1960s. Their 3 number 1 U.S. singles include Wake Up Little Susie, 1957, All I Have to Do Is Dream, 1958, and my favorite, Kathy's Clown, 1960. I got to go back to the harmonies and just give these guys props, man, for just, I guess that's what happens when you grow up together as brothers. You just, the chemistry's there. They were one of the very first artists inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And in 1997, they were awarded the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. That's the Everly Brothers at number 2. So guess what? Should I take a little pause here for number 1? Just take a sip of my tea. And the funny thing is, nobody said this one. Okay? Number 1. Music duo of all time. Thanks, Rob. See? I was hoping for like a little guitar solo or something coming in. But we'll work on that. We'll get to it. I'll get you as a guest one time and get you to play some, Marvin Gaye. Number 1, according to DJ Ray anyway, music duo of all time. I think my sister might like this one. Hall & Oates. Okay? I don't have the words to say about these two. They were an American pop rock duo made up of Daryl Hall and John Oates. They had six number 1 hit singles in the U.S. between 1977 and 1984. That's basically a number 1 every year, not to mention all the 2s and 5s and 12s that they had. In 2014, this duo was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And 2016, they received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I might also mention that in 2003, they were inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. Hands down, well, maybe not hands down, but decisively number 1 of all time. And I got to tell you, I had a tough time between the top 4. Hall & Oates, Everly Brothers, Simon and Garfunkel, and Tears for Fears, because it was just like a slight margin between the 4. And I had to kind of go with just, tie-breaking maneuvers. Sorry, what was that? Who's the absolute best? Oh, Hall & Oates. Yeah. So do you guys agree with Hall & Oates, or do you think somebody I said was better than them? I mean, Simon and Garfunkel seems like the obvious answer, but it's not always the oldest group, or Everly Brothers. It's not always the oldest group that is the best, So yeah, there you have it. There's my top 20, and more importantly, my greatest music duo of all time, which is Hall & Oates. So I'm just about finished here, but again, I usually like to just see if anybody has any thoughts on duos or any that I didn't mention. I think I covered it. It's hard to pick 20 duos. When you really get to it, it's there's not as many duos out there as you would think. But yeah, so my top 3, once again, Hall & Oates at number 1, Everly Brothers at number 2, Simon and Garfunkel at number 3. Just before I let you guys go, I'd like to mention that next week I'll be back again, same time, same channel, TikTok Live at 8 p.m. I usually go for about a half hour, 45 minutes. As it gets better, I will push it to 45 more. And I've got a couple interactive games that I have in mind too that I think you guys will find fun. But for now, we're just kind of sticking with like this, getting a groove going. So I will be here next week, December 10th, Tuesday night at 8 p.m. sharp. I will be here. I'm usually here a few minutes early too, so feel free to come in. And you know, I love the company. And the next week's topic is the greatest artists of today. So the greatest, you know, and when I say today, I don't mean artists like Beyonce, where she's still charting and she's a goddess in the business, but she's not a new artist. She's an old artist that's kicking ass still. And Taylor Swift is even on the borderline, believe it or not, because when was her best years? Was it the 2010s or was it the 2000s, you know, or 2020s? But, you know, it's hard to not think of Taylor Swift might be the exception. We'll see. I haven't even figured it out yet. So, but basically the biggest artists of 2020, you know, Sabrina Carpenter, Chappell Roan, you know, Teddy Swims, Benson Boone, list goes on, right? Like, who are the greatest artists of today? That's what we're going to find out next week. And I'm going to tell you who the greatest of all time is. And I'll tell you the greatest of all time, the greatest today's artists. And you might be surprised by this list. Actually, maybe some of you don't even know people on this list. I'm not sure, but we're going to be unraveling that next week, December 10th, 8 p.m. right here on TikTok Live, greatest artists from today. And just before that, I'd just like to remind you to check me out on social media. All you have to do is go to any social media platform. I'm pretty much on them all. And just type in DJ Ray's Music. You can check out what I'm doing on Facebook, YouTube. My YouTube channel is great. I've got some excellent playlists. Go in the playlist section, and you want music, you got some music and the videos to go with it as a bonus. And they're all sorted. I'm still working on it, so you know, but it's workable. I think you'd enjoy the playlist section of my YouTube channel. DJ Ray's Music. Just type that in, DJ Ray's Music, and you'll find me on all the social media platforms. And if you'd like, check out my website at djraysmusic.com, and you can see pretty much everything at that one stop. So anyways, thank you so much for the support. Thanks, Debbie, for liking the live. Thanks, Uncle Mike. I'll definitely see you again. I appreciate you coming 2 weeks in a row. I'm going to have to start a VIP list here pretty soon. Yes, so much all for everyone, Ange. Thank you. See, my sister's always got my back. I want to invite her on as a co-host next week. I hope you guys agree with me on that. What do you think, Uncle Mike? Should I have my sister on here with me? I haven't even asked her yet, so she's probably like, eh. So anyway, guys, we'll see you next Tuesday, 8 p.m., right here on TikTok Live, December 10th. Greatest artists of today. Thank you again for joining me. Love you all, and have a great Tuesday night. Take care.